religion, and racism. Race, religion, and racism. And we have come thus far to the section on race. And we are asking the question and seeking an answer to: where did we come from? How did we get here? Why is there such a rainbow of coloring among humans? And how did it all begin? There are various ideas about it. And the racist establishment of this society, and particularly in the beginning of our nation, through the church, it has been promulgated down through time that Adam and Eve, and therefore our original parents, were white. And all of our art has depicted them as white. All of the so-called Renaissance art, all the European art, all of the Bible bookstore pictures that you see of Jesus, the apostles, Moses, Abraham, dogs, fleas, and cats, everybody is white. And it is really an untruth. It has not been correctly presented to the world. I'm not interested, as I've said before, in trying to find everybody to be black. I've gone in my research, I've found some that everybody's black. I mean, everything is black. Even the sky is black, ocean's black, the water's black, everything. God is black, angels are black, everything is black. Well, to me, that's going from one extreme to the other. All I want to do is find out what's the real story, and the Bible tells us, but we've got to get past all of our preconceived ideas and prejudices to get to it. Last time we were dealing with a little basic biology to try to give some scientific validation to some things that we've already found out from the standpoint of the Word of God. I said, and I think that our lesson today will prove it, that Adam and Eve, there is no way in this lifetime that Adam and Eve could have been white. It is a biological and scientific impossibility, unless there are two different creations. And believe it or not, I hope to get to it. I'm going to share some information with you today that implies that there is two different separate creations. That the first creation was all white, and the other creation is all the rest of us mongrels. Notice I included me in it. I said us mongrels, okay? So don't get, all right, hostile with me. Now, I want to go back and pick up where I left off, and so I've got to do a little bit of review. Now, I'm giving you validatable information, information that you can go check up for yourself, because too long preachers have been telling the sheep and the lamb certain things and giving them no basis in proof where they could go check it out. But I have done a lot of research, so I want to give you the benefit of my research so you can go check it out. Don't accept it because I said it. Don't accept it because it sounds good. Don't accept it because it sounds bad. Don't accept it because it sounds right. Don't accept it because it sounds wrong. Accept it because it's validatable and it squares up with the Scripture. Now, in the Answers book, 1990, by Ken Ham, Andrew Snelling, and Carl Whelan, and I apologize in the very beginning for any other names that I may use in this discourse today that I may not pronounce correctly. I'm pronouncing it to the best of my limited ability. So there's no intent in mispronouncing anyone's name. And a lot of times things are subject to somebody's interpretation anyway. I know some people that are named Susan, and some people call the same name Suzanne. And they put a little thing on the top of it there, and it's all spelled the same way. So, you know, anyway. So, The Answers book, 1990, by Ken Ham, Andrew Snelling, and Carl Whelan. Master Books, P.O. Box 1606, El Cajon, California, 92022. All three authors are creation scientists with degrees in biology, geology, and medicine, respectively. I want to quote from this book because I believe they deal with this question of skin color in a very simple way. Even if you have no background in science of any kind, you will be able to understand their simple presentation. On pages 133 and 134, and I quote, "It is easy to think that since different groups of people have yellow skin, red skin, black skin, white skin, and brown skin, there must be many different pigments or colorings. The fact is, however, that there is only one skin color, melanin. This is a brownish pigment which we all have in special cells in our skin. If we produce only a little melanin, it means that we will be European white. If our skin produces a great deal of melanin, we will be very deep black. And in between, of course, are all shades of brown, end of quote. The Answers book goes on to say, pages 135, 136, 137, 141, 142, 143, 146, and 147, and I quote because I want to put all of this together. We also need to be aware that one is not born with a genetically fixed amount of melanin, but rather with a genetically fixed potential to produce a certain amount in response to sunlight. For example, if you are a Caucasian, you may have noticed that when your friends headed for the beach at the very beginning of summer, they may, if they spent all their time indoors during winter, have all been more or less the same pale white color. As the summer went on, however, some became much darker than others. In other words, they suntan, they tan, but you never see all white-skinned people tan to identically the same color of tan. There's differences in the tan because of that genetic fixing inside of them to determine how much melanin their skin will produce in response to.
Also, I want to add to this. Now, you're talking about how, white people, they tan up. But have you noticed with white people, they're able to be more used to the cold, more so than black people? I know several white people, friends of mine, like during this time of the year, be it winter. I know this one guy, he will come to work with short pants on and a t-shirt, okay? While the rest of us, we got on coats, gloves, the whole 9 yards. But him, he'll come with shorts on. Matter of fact, he wears shorts just almost every day. And it could be like 25 degrees, 30 degrees, whatever. But he'll have on shorts every day. And then I'll see, not just him, but I see other white people, they'll, especially white men, I don't know, for some reason, I'm just making this observation, but their skin is more, and I've said this before, their skin is more conducive to the cold weather than, say, black people. But I just wanted to make that observation and bring it to your attention.
Sunlight. In very dark-skinned people, well, let me go back. As the summer went on, however, some became much darker than others. Even very dark-skinned races are not born with such a skin color. It takes exposure to sunlight to switch on the melanin factories in the skin. I gave an illustration last Sunday of my daughter when she was born, and most people can relate to this. Most black people or people of color can relate to this. Most of our babies that are born are never born the same color they become when they're 2, 3, or 4, 5 years old. They are born very light. In some cases, so light, some questions arise. On occasions, wondering, now wait a minute here, but after exposure to light, then the melanin factories in the skin are turned on, and whatever their genetic disposition is, they will begin to turn that color up to the level of their genetic structure.
Right.
Okay? It takes exposure to sunlight to switch on the melanin factories in the skin. In very dark-skinned people, the areas such as the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, which are very rarely exposed to sunlight, generally stay much lighter than the rest of the body. Let's look at a few observations which can help us to explain how many different skin colors can arise in a short time. Because, see, we have to account for all these different shades of coloring in the world. Now, either God made them or they came from somewhere else. And if they came from somewhere else, then that means there's another God or another creator or something. And there are some that claim that that people came from a different place. Everybody came from the same source. And we'll find this out as we go along. Whenever we use such words as different colors, we are, strictly speaking, referring to different shades of the one color. If a person from a very dark race marries someone from a very white race, their offspring, called mulattoes, are mid-brown. It has long been known that if people of mulatto descent marry, their offspring may be virtually any color, ranging from very black to very white. And I gave you the other illustration about my wife's family. They had, the mother was almost white as a white person. And the father was very, very dark. They had 13 kids. 11 of those kids were all basically mid-brown, like my wife, and one was almost white, and one was almost black. All came from the very same mother and father. So we see this, and many families can relate to the same experience. Now, understanding this gives us the clues we need for our overall question. So we must first look in a simple way at some of the basic facts of heredity. Each of us carries in our body information which describes us in the way a blueprint describes a finished building. It determines not only that we will be human beings rather than cabbages or crocodiles, but it also whether we will have, that don't sound right. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me say it again. It determines not only that we will be human beings rather than cabbages or crocodiles, but also whether we will have blue eyes, short nose, long legs, etc. When a male sperm fertilizes an egg, all the information that specifies how the person will be built, ignoring such superimposed factors as exercise and diet, is already present. The human blueprint is written in a code or language convention which is carried on a very long chemical called DNA. The word gene means a small part of that information which carries the instructions for only one feature. In the fertilized egg, where does all the information, its genes, come from? One half has come from the father, carried by the sperm, and the other half from the mother, carried in the egg. Genes come in matching pairs. Say matching pairs. We know that skin color is governed by at least 2, possibly more, sets of genes. Now, I want to pause for a moment and make an addendum here. Now, we're reading from scientists, not Christians per se. They are Christians, but not from the standpoint of ministers of the gospel or preachers preaching from a pulpit or theologians teaching in a seminary. We're talking about scientists, biologists, medicine, geologists that are giving us information scientifically. And on top of all of that, these 3 gentlemen that wrote this book and that are scientists are all white. So you know they're right. That was a joke. Don't take it personally. Don't get hostile, okay? Just wanted to release a little energy there. Now, we know that skin color is governed by at least 2, possibly more sets of genes. Let's call them, line 1 is capital A, capital B. With the correspondingly more silent genes, line 2, please, and underline for me, highlight if you would, gentlemen. The correspondingly more silent genes, small a and small b. Now, the small letters in this case code for a small amount of melanin. So a very dark race, which on intermarriage kept producing only very dark offsprings, they would be, line 3 please, they would be capital AA, BB. Remember, they come in pairs, okay? So it would be AA, BB capital. Now, the same situation for a very fair-skinned race would be, line 4, please, small AA, small BB. Remember that the capital A codes for a lot of melanin. The small a, small b's code for a small amount of melanin. Now let's look at what combinations would result in a mulatto, the offspring of an, line 5 please, of an AABB, capital AA, capital BB, and a small BB union. In other words, if you put these two together, what would happen if two such mid-brown mulatto people were to marry? Surprisingly, we find that an entire range of color, from very white to very black, can result in only one generation. Beginning with this particular type of mid-brown parents, those children born with, line 6 please, born with capital AA, capital BB, who are pure black in the sense of consistently having no other types of offspring, have no genes for lightness at all. I want you to pick up on this now. Listen, let me say that again and start thinking ahead about the others group, and you'll be able to see something. Those children born with capital AABB who are pure black in the sense of consistently having no other types of offspring have no genes for lightness. Say that. Have no genes for lightness. If they were to marry and migrate to a place where their offspring could not intermarry with people of different colors, all their children will be black. A pure black line will result. Those who are, line 7 please, those who are small AA, now follow this carefully. See, we want to find out where we came from. We want to find out what Adam and Eve were in the beginning. And the racist establishment is telling us and has told us all along that they are white. And I'm going to read some documentation in just a moment that they are white. But they're not basing that on genetic, scientific information. They're basing it on personal color prejudice. And here's why. Here's why. Listen to this. Those who are small AA, small BB are white. If they marry, get this now, if they marry other whites and migrate to a place where their offspring cannot marry other colors, a pure, in the same sense, white line will result. They have lost the genes which give them the ability to be black. That is, to produce a large amount of melanin. Well, if that's true, and it is scientifically established to be true, then Adam and Eve, they couldn't possibly have been white. Because if they had been white, they would have no genes to code for dark. Therefore, black people, red people, brown and red, could never have come from Adam and Eve. So that would mean there's got to be another creation somewhere, and we don't have any record of it in the book. Only one creation, and I'm going to take it in a little bit, and the Lord showed me how to show you from the Scripture how it's an impossibility that there is another creation. Adam and Eve were the first ones, and they were not white. Couldn't have been. Because if they were white, they would have no genes for dark melanin. Therefore, no dark or blacks, browns, reds, or yellows could ever come out of them. So tell me where all of us mongrels come from. We had to come from somewhere. All right? Now, so you can see how it is easily possible, beginning with two middle brown parents, to get not only all the colors, but also races with permanently different shades of coloring. But what about races which are permanently mid or middle brown, such as we have today? Again, this is easily explained. Line 8, please. Those of small AA, capital BB, or capital AA, small BB, if they no longer interact with others, will be able to produce only mid-brown colored offsprings. End of quote from the Answers book. Noah Well, no, I'm not end of quote. I got to go on. There's another one. Noah and his family were probably mid-brown, with genes for both dark and light skin. I won't need the video anymore, fellas. Thank you. Because a medium skin color, wait a minute, let me go. Noah and his family were probably mid-brown with genes for both dark and light skin. Because a medium skin color, dark enough to protect against skin cancer, yet light enough to allow vitamin D production, would be the most suitable in the world before the flood. It is likely that there were then no harsh extremes of climate. As all the factors for skin color were present in Adam and Eve, they would most likely have been mid-brown as well. Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 1. I said this last time, but I didn't give you scripture. And I want you to see how this could happen by showing you another illustration of something right in the Bible that can satisfy the statement that I've made that Adam and Eve, based on genetic information, would have to have been mid-brown. They couldn't have been black, and they couldn't have been white, because if they were white, they would have no genetic coding for black. And if they were black, they would have no genetic coding for white. So the only possible combination would have to be mid-brown, because they carry the genetic coding for snow white and black. The only one. So Adam and Eve could not have been white. Now, where did Adam and Eve come from? Or let's start with Adam, because actually Eve came out of Adam.
Right.
But where did Adam come from? I mean, how did he get on the earth? What? God created him. Now, we already talked about from the substance that he created him from. But the point is, God created Adam. Adam was not born as a baby and grew up to manhood. God created Adam fully developed. So if Adam was fully developed, so was his genetic structure fully developed. Now, watch this. Chapter 1, Genesis. Let's look at verse 1. It says, in the beginning, God did what? Created the heavens and the earth. Okay? Now watch this, verse 9. Then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas, and God saw that it was good. Now watch this, verse 11. Then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. I have a question for you. Where does grass come from? No, you're telling me where it comes from. I said, what does it come from? Seed. Seed. Okay, if that's true, it says here then, verse 11, that God said, let the earth bring forth. Verse 1 said that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Then in verse 11 it says, God said, let the earth bring forth grass. How can the earth bring forth something that it doesn't have in it? Well, that has to tell us then that when God created the heavens and the earth, God must have put into the earth all of the genetic coding for all of the plants and the trees and all the vegetation, so that at a certain time God could say, come forth. You can't have something come forth that was never there. Now, if God did that for the ground, why could not he have done that with Adam and Eve when he made them just like he made the earth? So I submit to you that when God created Adam, he placed in Adam the genetic coding for all the colors that were going to ultimately come to pass. And so all Adam had to do then was to procreate or come together with Eve, and they would begin the genetic cycle. Because, see, remember, Adam was fully grown.
Right.
Therefore, everything that Adam had in him, God had to put it in him when he created him. Everything. His brain, his eyes, his cells, his circulatory system, his heart, his lungs, all of his endocrine glands, everything had to be in Adam when Adam was created, because Adam did not grow. So if there is any such thing as genetics, and we know there is, if there is any such thing as DNA, and we know that there is, God had to put it in Adam when he created him. So that's how the genetic coding was placed in Adam, and therefore, as a result of that, then Adam and Eve had to be mid-brown. They could not have been white. Now watch this. One of our members, gave me some information that they had retrieved from the internet. And I looked at it. He gave me the information. They gave me the information after, if you remember when we talked about Adam and Adam. You remember? Anybody remember that? And I gave you the definition from James Strong's Concordance of what Adam meant. Flushed in the face, ruddy or red. Well, most white theologians will tell you that what that means is that a person is pale white. And then when they blush, the blood rushes to their surface of their skin and they turn rosy. Well, that don't stay that way. That's only when you blush, and you don't be blushing all the time. It talks about ruddy. That meant that was a color, a reddish copper brown. But you see, you can interpret things, and who can say that it's not right? And so for 400 years, the church has been interpreting this thing as that Adam was white and rosy face when he flushed or blushed, but he was white. But the genetics don't line up with that. That bird won't fly. No. Now, this person.
All right. So we're going to pause right here. Make it so bigger. All right, we're going to pause right here. So, and I titled this, "The Black Man is the Blueprint." He is the blueprint. And I love how Pastor Price formed this. I like the way he brought it to our attention. He presented us with genetics. He presented us with, say, a format, DNA, so to speak. And I like how he broke it down and lined it up. That he just didn't go off hearsay or his word, but he's using scientific facts, scientific proof, and so forth. And I know there'll still be the naysayers and people who say, well, it doesn't matter, and we're all one people, one race. We all have one, red blood and so forth. True, 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 true. I get that. But again, this whole purpose, this whole argument is for the sake of those who continue to be racist, those who teach their kids and bring their kids up to be racist. All this is for the sake of calling them out. All this is for the sake of proving them wrong. All of this is for the sake of bringing forth truth in the name and will of God. Because that is the bottom line. God is the bottom line. This isn't about being a black and white issue, even though you may take it that way. But no, this is not about being a black and white issue. Again, this is about truth. This is about bringing up things that need to be talked about, because we live in an atmosphere where many of today's people who under the age of 30 will not be taught this. They won't be taught this in their schools. They will not be taught this in their most of their churches. The majority of these churches will not teach on this. And you look at past history, it shows basically everything white. Especially if you look at old black and white movies, everything is white. All the people are white. You rarely will see a black person represented in the movies, and when you do, they're in a situation where they're subservient. Okay. So again, this is why I continue to bring this up. This is why I continue to show these, because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be shown, and there are a growing number of naysayers who throw stones at me for presenting this. And it's sad to say that I get some who throw stones at Pastor Price. He is gone, passed away, a few years ago, but still, as I keep harping on this needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. And it needs to be taught in schools. So since I know schools are not going to teach on this, so I'm presenting this to you. Now, what I want you to do, please share this with others. Talk about it with others. If you have something to say it. Bring it up. But these type of things cannot be swept under the rug. It cannot continue to be suppressed. We need to talk about these things. And there are those who say, well, this isn't talking about the gospel. Yes, it is. If you talk about sin, which racism is sin, if you debunk it, rebuke it, it's gospel. It's talking about the gospel because it's in correlation. It's about sin. I cannot keep harping on this enough. It's about sin. So don't get caught up in this facade or falsehood that racism is suppressed, it's gone, it's never more. No, it's here. It's in your face. You may not see it, but it's here. Okay? So again, we need to be brave about this. And whenever the situation comes up, and again, it will come up. Something egregious will happen. I pray that it doesn't, but we live in this sinful world that it's going to happen again, where some issues are going to come. Somebody is going to be hurt. And there's, like I said, I just can't say this enough. But hey, it is what it is, but I will continue to keep pushing this. And I hope you do as well. I hope you care enough as well to speak on this, to share it, to talk about it. Don't let it go by the wayside, because that's what Satan is hoping. That's what Satan wants you to do. Not hoping, but wants you to do. Okay, because when it rears its ugly head again, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be cute. The emphasis is on ugly. So continue to renew your minds. Continue to be in the will of the Lord. Continue to love Him, because that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It's the title is about race, religion, racism. It's not about focusing on color, but it's about doing the will of God, and it's about truth. So, till we meet again, let's say.